I just returned from a venture across Japan. I threw myself into the culture, trying everything from wearing a kimono and the surprisingly comfortable socks. I watched in awe as giant 400-pound rikishi slammed into each other. And of course I explored the beautiful Japanese landscape. But perhaps one of the most rewarding aspects was learning the Japanese language. If your goal is to be able to hold simple conversations in Japanese, then this video is for you. I had 4 months to learn Japanese prior to my trip, and today we'll explore some of the lessons I learnt, the mistakes I made, and we'll take a look at some of the results as I awkwardly try to communicate with native Japanese speakers on my travels. Ohayo gozaimasu. Good morning. We are 1 week into the Japanese learning journey, and I've got to admit, so far, it's been tough. I'm really struggling to recall the words that I've been learning. They just aren't sticking in my memory. The first mistake I made when learning Japanese was neglecting to learn hiragana and katakana. I thought if my goal is to be able to understand and speak Japanese, then do I really need to be able to read it? Hiragana and katakana are both phonetic character systems, which is a fancy way of saying that each character represents a sound. By learning these characters, I was able to visualize the words I was hearing and speaking, and so I was able to memorize the Japanese words more easily and recall them with better pronunciation. The main method I used to learn hiragana and katakana was Duolingo. I found that the method of tracing the characters with my finger was really great for active recall, but it wasn't so strict as to make the process painful. I'd also recommend you turn off the romanized pronunciation in the settings of a Duolingo lesson. I'm constantly toggling this on and off, and I find that it really accelerates my learning by testing my knowledge of the Japanese characters. As I continued to learn the character systems in the evenings, the focus of my practice during the day was listening, usually on my commute to and from work. Listening to Japanese forms the pillar that will both help you to understand what's being said in a conversation, but also it will help you to pronounce the words when you're speaking. I tried quite a few different courses and podcasts, and there were 2 that stood out to me in particular. The first is a Japanese Pod 101 podcast called Learn Japanese Absolute Beginner. It's subscriber only at $7.49 a month. But for me, it was worth it, as this podcast acted as my sensei, my teacher of Japanese. It offers just enough cultural context and grammatical explanations so that you can understand why you're saying something, but it still has a heavy focus on learning practical phrases and words that you'll actually use on your travels. The second resource that I listened to was Pimsleur's Japanese course. The version I found was free online. You can also find certain copies in some libraries, and of course you can just buy the newest version through Pimsleur's app if you like. I found that Pimsleur's active recall of phrases and the spaced repetition really helped me to gain confidence in constructing sentences and producing the sounds of Japanese. I listened to a single lesson once a day, making sure to repeat out loud when instructed to by the tutor. It does lack grammatical explanations, but therefore I found it paired really nicely with the Japanese Pod 101 podcast. And as soon as I combined these on my commute to work, I found that my progress really started to accelerate. Good morning. It is Friday the 7th of February, which means I have exactly 1 month. In fact, February is a short month, so I kind of have less than a month before I travel to Japan, which also means I have a month to learn Japanese. My plan has shifted a little bit. My focus is now going to be on acquiring as many useful phrases as I can. Phrases that I'm actually going to use on a day-to-day basis whilst I'm in Japan. To do this, I found a handful of YouTube videos of essential Japanese phrases for beginners and tourists. I then took these phrases, expanded them a little bit, and I added them to the flashcard app Anki. The flashcards have English on the front and Japanese on the back, forcing me to actively recall the Japanese, and I often took the time to add voice recordings and explanations underneath the phrases to help me to understand and remember them better. Anki worked really effectively at the weekends, but one problem I was having was that when I tried to use it in the evenings after a long day at work, I found it really boring. I was struggling to stay awake as I practiced. And there was another problem too. The Pimsleur course that I'd found on the internet had been taken down. Fair enough, but it meant I had much less content to listen to on my commutes to work. In my final push to reach my goal, I decided to take a more drastic approach. I developed an app. This enabled me to generate and translate lists of Japanese phrases much more quickly.
Do you speak English? あなたは英語を話しますか?
This app makes videos of my essential phrases so that I can listen to my phrases, watch them on screen, and repeat them out loud without having to interact with my laptop in the evenings like Anki. This enabled me to immerse myself whenever I wanted with my phrases on repeat, whether it was on my commute to work, doing the dishes in the evenings, or even sometimes lying in bed. I spent the final month frantically cramming as many useful Japanese phrases as I could, and it seemed to be working, but did it all pay off? Konnichiwa. 2人をください。
はい、ごめんなさい、600円です。
カートは大丈夫ですか？
大丈夫ですよ。少々お待ちください。ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。People would often ask me how I know Japanese. They would compliment me on my Japanese, despite it obviously being very broken.
こんにちは。ティーラテトルサイズお願いします。抹茶ティーアイス持ち帰りお願いします。現金大丈夫？はい。ありがとう。
Often they would even start to talk to me entirely in Japanese, which of course proved to be quite a challenge, but I was able to handle it because I knew the phrase sumimasen, wakarimasen, and we'd roll with it. All of these classic tourist questions, like asking if someone has something, asking if it's okay if I do something, asking where something is, getting a table at a restaurant, paying the bill, they were all enhanced by the basic understanding of Japanese I'd acquired because it made people more receptive to me. So if you want to unlock more of Japan and the unique people and the nuanced culture, then why not join me in learning Japanese if you haven't already? Perhaps you're already using some interesting methods to learn Japanese. Please let me know down in the comments if you are, so we can all learn together. Hit the subscribe button so you don't lose my small channel to the vastness of YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Ja ne.